Get out of your comfort zone. We've all heard it, but what does it really mean? Why do you do it? How do you do it? Today's episode of the Underdog Coach, we're going to talk all about it, so get ready. All right, I'm excited about today's topic of the Underdog Coach show. And before we get right into it, I've got a small way that you can get out of your comfort zone, and that is to click the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. And right after you click it, be sure to click the little notification bell, the little notification icon, so you'll be notified every time a new episode of the Underdog Coach is posted. And I would love it if you would also like the video, if you actually do like it, and would love to hear your comments as well. So let's get right into it. Get out of your comfort zone. I mean, this is something that you hear all the time. We've all heard it, but too often we hear that and we just don't, yeah, it sounds good. But often it really invokes a feeling of fear or anxiety when we hear that. So let me just share a few thoughts on the subject that I think can help you, something that's really helped me and how I've really come to visualize my comfort zone. And this is what I've learned, is that really all of us in life have different levels or different comfort zones in different areas of our life. For example, someone may have a really huge comfort zone when they enter the gym, but they may have a much smaller comfort zone when it comes to maybe certain professional environments. Or maybe there's people that have a really large comfort zone now when it comes to speaking in front of people. But that same person goes in the gym and has a very small comfort zone. So, it's interesting because we all have areas where we're really comfortable or have a much bigger comfort zone, and then areas where we're not so confident, where we have a much smaller comfort zone. So I want to talk about that and, what does it really mean? I like to look at it as different zones or different levels of comfort zone, because what happens is, we all have certain things that we're just comfortable doing. Maybe we weren't comfortable at one time, but we're very comfortable now. And so we have this large comfort zone of any area of your life. But what's interesting and what I've noticed in my own life is that there tends to be this gravitational pull towards doing things that we're really comfortable doing. Especially as we get older, we all find ourselves getting in our comfort zones. Whereas when we're really just born, when we're new to this world, everything is out of our comfort zone. But over time, we begin to develop these comfort zones. And what I've found, especially in my own life, is that there's really this pull inward towards, let me do the things that I'm most comfortable doing. And that's great. But what I've found is, and that I kind of use as an example in the center of my comfort zone, I just took something that really for me requires absolutely no stretching whatsoever. It's 100% comfortable. So I just use an example of binge watching, Netflix, just turning on a TV show. I mean, if you think about it, again, you can replace that with whatever it might be in your own life. But what's something that really, sitting on the couch and watching 3 hours and binge watching Netflix. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I know a lot of people do that today, right? I love to watch some Netflix. But using that as an example really requires no discomfort whatsoever. It's 100% dead center in the middle of my comfort zone. And there's a whole bunch of things. We could name different things. Going and playing golf, right? I mean, there's things that we all want to do that are in our comfort zone. But there's always this pull towards, let me just continue to be as close as center as I can to my comfort zone. But what's really interesting, even though that's the natural gravitational pull for me, and I think for most people, what's interesting is that the more time that I spend, and of course it's important to get back and rest and be in our comfort zone, but the more time that I spend as close to center of my comfort zone, over time, what I've found is that I actually begin to get a greater sense of unhappiness, and actually can get a greater sense of anxiety and a greater sense of lack of confidence the more time I spend dead center in my comfort zone. For me, and what I believe is actually true of all of us, is that the more I can get up in this secondary zone of the discomfort zone, actually the more I actually begin to feel happier, that I feel more confident. And really the reason for that is because it is the discomfort zone that I actually experience growth, that I actually feel like I'm growing and improving, which actually growth really does equal a greater sense of happiness and a greater sense of confidence. Here's the challenge, there is that oftentimes when we hear something like get out of your comfort zone, what often comes to mind, this was certainly true for me and can be true for me if I'm not aware of it, is automatically our mind immediately goes to what I call the panic zone. And so when someone says, oh, you just need to get over it and get out of your comfort zone, too often we go too far out of our comfort zone in what we visualize, and it creates a sense of panic and a sense of anxiety, because we can't, like, for example, if you have a fear of talking in front of people, and so when that thought of that comes up, you start visualizing all of these things, like talking in front of massive numbers of people, and you start visualizing all this stuff that creates a panic. And so you just want to avoid that as much as possible and try to stay as close to your comfort zone as you can. So what I found for me is that the closer I can get, I've heard the statement, really life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And so in any area of your life, if you can identify and be open, like, hey, it's okay to be honest with yourself and say, I'm comfortable doing this, I'm comfortable doing that, but I'm really not comfortable doing that. What are some things that are just on the outside of your comfort zone? Not so far out that when you visualize it, it creates a sense of panic and fear, because when you think like that, you'll never move to the edges of your comfort zone. I really do think that the most exciting place to live is what I call the discomfort zone. It's not totally uncomfortable, right? It's close enough to things you're comfortable doing, but you're stretching yourself. And we hear that term, hey, we need to stretch ourselves. That's really what that means. But we can't stretch ourselves too far, too fast. Now listen, maybe some people will disagree with this. There may be some people that can just jump right up there in that panic zone, but I don't think so. I think there's always a place that if people try to jump too far, right, then they freak out and they run away and say, I don't want to do that again. So it's important to identify what are some things that we can do. And here's another thing that's a really important thing to understand is that I believe that while this may be your 100% comfortable zone, the more time you spend towards the center of your comfort zone, what begins to happen is your actual comfort zone can shrink. One of the lessons that I've learned in my own life is that this line right here is not permanent. It can move this way, but it can also move this way. And the natural pull is to pull inward. And this is why people, and you think about your own life, what's something at one point maybe you were comfortable doing, but you've been away from it for so long that the idea of going back into it, now you realize, gosh, that's out of my comfort zone, but it was once in my comfort zone. The reality is we're always either growing or shrinking, and the same thing is true with our comfort zone. And so that's important to understand. The more time that we spend away from the edges, the smaller that comfort zone gets, and I believe over time can actually produce a greater level of unhappiness, anxiety, lack of confidence. But the more time that we can spend on the edges of our comfort zone, not the panic zone, but on the edges of the comfort zone, the more time you can spend there, that's where you experience growth. And to me, growth really does equal more happiness. So what I would challenge you to do is in your own life, think about it in different areas, because certain areas you have this huge comfort zone, and then other areas we have a much smaller comfort zone. But in any area, especially where you're not happy or where you want to see progress, where you want to see growth, what I would encourage you to do is think about some things that you can go do. What's a phone call that you can make? What's a person you can reach out to? What's a thing that you need to go do in that area that maybe is a little bit uncomfortable? And I would challenge you to go do it, and you'll be glad that you did, because the more we can be honest with ourselves, the more we can keep ourselves in that discomfort zone. Here's what's awesome, is that when we do activities that are just inside this discomfort zone, we all know this, it doesn't take long before all of a sudden that becomes comfortable, right? But too often we find ourselves not continuing to push it farther. And so think about where and what areas of your life do you need to go get a little bit uncomfortable. Don't go all the way in the panic zone, but just get into the discomfort zone. I believe it can make all the difference. It can increase your confidence. It can increase your level of happiness. And at the end of the day, we all want to be happier. We all want to be more confident. So, hey, I would love to hear your comments. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Like it. Share it if you think someone could benefit from this message. Go make it a great day.
In other words, get off your fat butt, quit feeding your mouth, get out of your comfort zone and do something important with your life. And you can start by subscribing to this here YouTube channel, okay?